recently I made a statement. I get people to talk. I can talk to anyone, anywhere. Okay. Well, I just had to take up my own challenge. So with my little camera and a bit of nerve, I went to London and talked to some very interesting people. A conversation with Zulkof Bockun.
Hello, come in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ooh.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm good. Your name and tell me when you started the Beyouglu restaurant.
My name is Zulkof Bockun, and I started Beyouglu Restaurant approximately about 7-8 years ago.
Ah, and I'm just zooming in here on the name. Could you tell me what this means in Turkish?
Actually, this is a district name from Istanbul.
Ah.
But it also means as words in Turkish language, son of the big man.
Oh, okay.
And if you want me to tell you the story for the Beyouglu and the chef, which is, I think chef 40 years ago, he started, growing up in Beyouglu, and he started working in this industry. And this is where he brought the name with him. So I think this is the story for him to be interested to put the name as Beyouglu Restaurant.
And how do you know the chef?
Well, I don't know him at all. He's actually my brother.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I have a very funny story I haven't told you before.
Okay.
Chef is, as I said, he's my brother. I haven't seen him in my life before I came to England.
Oh, you're kidding? Oh.
That was my first time seeing him, and I haven't even seen his picture. But he's, quite famous. He's got a nice place, nice restaurant.
Hey, so Azad, you started learning the restaurant business from the bottom up, starting by cooking. Can you tell me what some of the secrets of running a successful restaurant are?
I wish I knew, so I could tell you.
No, but you do know, because this is a very good restaurant.
For me, the most important thing is food. If the food is really good, if you have a chef for 40 years, with 40 years experience, I think this is the bottom line. But the other thing is serving. You need to be very friendly with customers. You need to understand them. There are different people, so you need to understand each of them and serve them well. This fantastic food. I think this is the most important thing.
Do people ask you a lot of questions about the Turkish menu?
Absolutely, they do.
Yeah.
They definitely do.
Right, so even though you've heard it 100 times,
yes, absolutely.
You have to be polite.
Definitely. Sometimes if we need, we bring the chef here as well, so he can explain better.
Ah.
I am a chef as well, but sometimes I just bring him because he's much older than me, and it looks more genuine. So when the way how he explains as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Azad, how long have you been manager here at Beyouglu?
I've actually been manager about 3 years. Before, I used to work in the kitchen with my brother. And I've learned properly how to cook all these delicious foods. And later on, I came up and he told me that you're responsible, you're a manager.
Could you tell me how you maintain such consistent excellence in your food? My husband and I have eaten here at least 25 times, and we often have the same dish, and it's just as good as the day before. How do you do that?
Well, I want to tell you one thing first. We have the barbecue here, as you can see. Each time we have the orders, our food is really freshly cooked. As you can see, your salmons are getting ready there.
Oh.
So Turkish cuisine is not like other cuisines, nothing's in the freeze or something. Anything we have, we freshly prepare and cook.
So nothing's frozen?
Definitely nothing frozen. Everything is very fresh. Fresh vegetables, salad freshly made, So when you have everything freshly, customers can already notice. And if you need to make a salad, we have everything washed and clean, and we just make a very nice, fantastic salad. And so everything is very fresh. This is the most wonderful thing in Turkish cuisine, I have to say.
Do you like shop every day?
Yes, we have a supplier. He brings us vegetables.
Is this is it pretty common in Turkey?
It is actually common. The most average women in Turkey, they shop daily basis, you know. So as we prepare our food in the kitchen, they all Turkish people, they cook their food in their home even like this daily basis. And it's just this is the culture thing. I believe it comes to our cuisine.
Could you tell me what the secret is to running such a wonderful restaurant?
Basically, you need to be patient with your customers, with your staff. This catering business is a very difficult business. So if you are patient with everything, I believe you deserve what you get at the end. And you need to love what you're doing as well.
And you seem to have very happy customers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. That was
welcome.
wonderful.
You're more than welcome. We're gonna be stars.
And did you enjoy?
London Talks, Part 2. Following a Path. London Talks, Part 2. Following a Path. Part 2 features conversations with an artist and an actor. My challenge is to find intriguing people who are willing to share stories about their interesting work. I knew an ideal place to find them would be Hampstead, North London. A green and leafy suburb with an English country village feel, high on the hills above the city of London. Hampstead is a trendy, upmarket place with the coveted NW3 postal code. It has always been a haven for artists and a place renowned for its entertainments. I can't help thinking as I made my way down Flask Walk that a footpath is a metaphor for the path we follow in life. And I try to imagine all the people who have walked here before me. This is a footpath where I walk with hundreds of years of history. Flask Walk took me to the historic Berg House, a wonderful Queen Anne home built in 1704. Another London adventure was about to begin. Rudyard Kipling's daughter lived here, and she was often visited by her father, the famous author of The Jungle Book. I entered the elegant historic building. Berg House is now a museum for local history and is also a venue for concerts and literary events. A place for afternoon tea, as well as an art gallery. It is here, in the gallery, that I met Carol Tarn, portraitist, at her solo art show. Carol gives us some very interesting insights into her life as an artist and tells us how she incorporates stories about the lives of the people in her portraits. In here with Carol Tarn, who's a portraitist, and she's exhibiting at the Berg House in Hampstead. Carol, I was just zooming in on you and some of your portraits. I was wondering, how long have you been doing this painting?
Well, I've been painting since 2004 from my studio at the Chocolate Factory in Wood Green, North London. So there's a pretty big space there, and that's where I sort of paint most of these paintings.
Well, why did you choose portraits?
Portraits are really interesting. You can really get into a person's interests, and you can tell stories with it. You can actually pull out what you see in a person. It's infinitely interesting what you can find in a face. I studied art at the Hampstead School of Art, which was my second career. My first career I spent in advertising, and I took up art sort of in my early 40s. Went to the Hampstead School of Art because it's a place you can go to actually learn how to paint. They teach you the skills.
Let's look at the portraits in detail. Tell me a little bit about this portrait.
This portrait is of a young actress who was just out of drama school, and she was sitting for me as an artist model. What I wanted to create with this painting was a sense of peace and a sense of being able to contemplate what is going on. It's not in the traditional portrait size or shape. It's a long, narrow portrait suggesting movement from right to left. And really her glance is quite enigmatic, so it's left up to the viewer to actually think about what she might be thinking. And the hand, I don't know if you can see the hand from there, but she has an engagement ring on her right hand, which is obviously very prominent in the painting, and something that this young woman did quite naturally in a pose, and I thought it was quite nice to accentuate it.
Now, did she have this engagement ring on, or did you request that you put it on?
She had it on herself, and she placed the arm like that. When I asked her to sort of create this long pose in my studio where I had the sort of bed all set up, she quite naturally created that pose with her hand, and I just thought that was very interesting.
Next, more portraits and their stories. Okay, now how long does it take you to do a portrait, for example, like the one above you here?
This portrait took me about 4 to 5 months to paint, and the challenge of this particular painting was the hat. which by itself took at least 40 hours work.
Wow. Now, is that the usual amount of time, or does it vary with
It can vary the size of the painting. Other paintings I have around this room, for example, this painting over here of a very colourful local character called Chewing Gum Man. This painting took me 9 months to complete. It is based on a photograph that I took of Ben Wilson painting in Muswell Hill. He paints small little paintings on discarded chewing gum.
Oh my gosh.
On the floor. Yeah.
So is this right here in the painting?
Yes.
Is a little painting?
It's a real small painting. He was halfway through it when I actually started to paint him.
Wow, that's an interesting story. This portrait is of actress Helen Lindsay in the role of Countess Mortimer.
So this is the photograph, one of the photographs I've based this painting on, and you can see how grey and flat the photograph is. But you've got the likeness of Helen and the dress here, and the small sepia photograph that actually I put into the painting. And when you look at the actual painting versus this photograph, you can see how much more vibrant the painting is, using very intense glazing techniques to bring out the colours.
A portrait is a study of a person over time. Carol believes a portrait is the result of a relationship between artist and subject. And an interview bonus. Carol is now painting my portrait. It's a small world. My next interview appeared to step right out of his own portrait. I exclaim in surprise, "You're here!" And so he was. Meet John Garasio, American actor in London. And former Ventura and Oxnard resident. At the time of the interview, John was acting in a West End play, Betrayal, by the famous Harold Pinter. You're here.
Yeah, hi, I'm John Garasio, and I'm an American actor who's been based in London for 21 years. And I first came to Hampstead in 1984 as a tourist, and I remember thinking that after I'd been all around London and all around England, I finally got to England. Hampstead looked like what I thought all of England was going to look like, with little side winding streets and great old houses and all that kind of ye olde stuff that Americans are such suckers for. It is definitely the high price spread. You've got to be generally pretty wealthy to live here. It's kind of like the best parts of the West Village in New York, I guess you could say. It's got an arty vibe, and I think a lot of wealthier artists and actors can live here, but working, struggling actors like myself can't afford to live in Hampstead, but we can come up here and walk around and dream about what it would be like to be here.
And tell me, why are you in this portrait behind you?
Oh, I did a show just down the street here at the New Inn Theatre, which is a lovely theatre here in Hampstead, and the artist Carol Tarn saw me in the show and then did a series of portraits about me.
Oh. Would you tell me what it's like to be an American actor in London?
It's a fascinating challenge. It can be very frustrating. There's a lot of work here for Americans. If you stay American, if you get some type of phony baloney quasi-British accent, they don't know what to do with you. They need real Americans. At the same time, there's still a lot of Yankee go home here, and especially at some of the posher theaters like the Donmar Warehouse and places like that, they'd rather we went away than use us when they're doing an American play. But I recommend being an expat to any American. It's really fascinating to live in another country and see the way people see Americans. And it also changes your perspective on America a great deal. I think I've learned to appreciate America much more. I love it more than ever, but I'm also very frustrated by it. It's an interesting thing to do, and I've been doing it for 21 years. I think I'm getting to the end of my time as an expat, and I'm starting to feel it's time to go back home.
What frustrates you about America?
Oh boy, we'd have to get into a lot of things about politics, which I don't think you really want to get into.
Okay. So what would you recommend to any artist?
Any American artist, and
Yes.
actually any artist in any country, get out of your own country and your own culture for a while. If you have a chance to live and work in a foreign culture, foreign clime, with other people, do it. It can be frustrating to be doing an American piece on BBC Radio. I do a lot of BBC Radio, and have someone from Oxford or Cambridge tell you how to do an Arthur Miller play, and they're wrong, and they think they know Arthur Miller more than I know Arthur Miller, and they don't. But it can be frustrating, but it can be interesting and challenging too. It broadens you. I think it makes you a better artist and I hate to call myself an artist, a craftsperson, an entertainer, but if you're a painter, a photographer, a musician, get out of your home country, get out of your comfort zone, and go and live in a foreign country.
Okay.
And that's an order.
Got that, artists? Expand. Go live in a foreign country. And to end with a philosophical question, why are some people so intriguing? Intriguing people love what they do. Could it be because they are creating their own life path? Coming soon, more interesting conversations with Londoners. London Talks, Part 3, The Village Way. Part 3 features conversations with a theater producer and a musician. The Village Way. London is comprised of many small villages, which were incorporated over the centuries as the city grew toward them. Hampstead is one of the villages that became part of the city, and a living history of the village way of life. This conversation is a sort of living history of an earlier time. A short distance from Hampstead Tube Station, near where Hampstead High Street intersects with Heath Street, is the Horseshoe Pub. It's a trendy pub in an upmarket area. Above it is a special place, one of London's fringe theatres, the Pentameters. When you hear London Fringe, think New York's Off-Broadway. Take the very steep, worn and windy staircase to the dusty, memorabilia-filled attic theater. You can bring a drink along from the pub downstairs, and not in a paper cup either. The pub landlord knows he'll get the glasses back. No one would ever dream of taking them. You soon forget the rickety, very basic seating with cushions and throw pillows circa 1960 as you enter the special world of a production by Leonie Scott Campbell, a woman with a passion for theater. Leonie trained at RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, and later founded the Pentameters Theatre one night in 1968, and has been producing roughly a new play, classic revival, poetry reading, or cabaret every 3 weeks ever since. 12 to 13 productions a year?
At the moment,
sometimes do you have help?
Occasionally I'll co-produce, but on the whole it's all in-house productions. But my life is very organised insofar as I live within 5 minutes walking distance. I have a partner, and I have a 22-year-old daughter who also lives next door. So she's working there.
Fringe theater runs on a shoestring, but it is a venue where love of craft motivates cast and crew. All the people involved, all actors, directors, lighting people, crew, work for free. Meet some of the volunteer cast and crew. Such is the reputation of Pentameters that theater people clamor to be in a production.
I'm cutting the tickets, which I draw myself, and having designed the posters.
Oh, that's great.
Have
we got many in tonight?
We've got about a dozen. He's a lovely actor. He played twins.
What do you like about playing at Pentameters?
I love the fact that it's so quaint and you're literally on top of the audience. So you can't get away with anything, which is great.
This is Oliver. Perhaps you'd like to just say hello to Oliver.
Oliver, hi. My name. Tell me who you are and what part you're playing in this play.
Oh, I'm not playing in the play.
Oh, what do you do?
Sorry, I'm very tired.
Oh, it's okay. Wait, this is
I
a
help
surprise.
I do the stage managing.
Oh.
And help with the set. The only does a lot of the set as well.
How long have you been doing this? How many productions?
It's like 4.
Oh, wow.
4 now.
Oh, and how did you hear about Leonie and her Pentameters Theatre?
Well, I used to come up all the time. I crossed by and I saw it was in the street. So I'm really tired. I've just been running around because I just live across the road. And when I moved here, I just discovered this place and just came up to watch some shows and met Leonie and Godfrey.
Leonie tells us about her current play, The Linden Tree.
The Professor's House, Professor Linden. It's in his study. It's a university town in the north of England. and he's 65 and he's been asked to retire, and this is where he lives, and I've tried to make everything totally authentic, so everything you see is 1947, and I'm dressed 47, and I am the financial advisor to his 35-year-old, secretary to the financial advisor under the umbrella of Lloyd's Bank, to his financial advisor.
Would you tell us the title of the play?
The title is called The Linden Tree. It's by J.B. Priestley. And it was first put on in 1947.
Okay. Well, let's go in and take a look.
There we are. So this is the set, and this is an actress getting ready. Unfortunately, unfortunately or not, but fortunately, she has to play a plain girl, and it's almost impossible for her to play a plain girl. To the period, which is 1947. Is that yours? No. Oh, so here we have the radio, the lovely radio, the old pictures. Everything you see is sort of right. Those pictures are 1947, and these are sort of things from the First World War, soldiers that went to the First World War.
So tell us a little bit, first of all, give us your name and tell me a little bit about how you got involved in theatre.
Right, well, my name is Lenny Scott Matthews, and I started Pentameters on August the 7th, 1968. I left drama school, and I was a working actress for a while, but I fell in love with Hampstead. I think I was telling you the other night, and we called it the Spirit of Place. And I've been brought up in Nottingham, in the suburbs of Nottingham, basically because my father couldn't get back to Guernsey, where he was living, because the Germans had dropped a bomb on St. Peter Port. So I was brought up in Nottingham with the idea of going back to Guernsey. And in fact, my mother started a drama school, so I never did go back in the end. And I came up to London to go to the Royal Academy of Music and Drama.
And that you studied at RADA?
Yes.
Wow, very exciting.
So
you started the theatre. How do you get funding for your theatre?
I didn't get any funding. Basically, how it all came about was I fell in love with the idea of Hampstead, and I had a bedsitter, and I was doing various acting jobs, and I got very involved with a pub called the Roslyn Arms, and the Roslyn Arms was a mecca for poets, artists, musicians, painters, and we all used to sort of hang out there, and I thought, wouldn't it be lovely if there was something other than drink, and we could all sort of create there. They didn't have a room, but I found a room in the basement of the Freemasons' Arms. I studied poetry. I formed a group called the Iambic Three, and I opened this theatre called Pentameters, and the idea it would be a poetry theatre.
Right, so the name Pentameters came from iambic pentameter.
5 beats to a line.
Yeah.
And the very first get-together we had was on August the 7th, 1968, and it was the Iambic Three invite you to an evening of poetry as entertainment. And I had two poets, I had John Heath Stubbs and Danny Apsey, and we enacted poems, we had music, and it really took off. And from then on, I did it full-time. And that's what I've done ever since.
Wow. Tell me who this is.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Right. I was the 60s bedsit girl, and this is Lenny Scott Matthews in her bedsit, Hampstead Hill Gardens, in the typical denim dress with the Bridget Bardot hair and the sultry pose.
And who named you the bedsit girl?
The bedsit girl was, it was a group I used to drink with in the Roslyn Arms, and they called me that, and they also called me the poetic midwife, because I used to encourage them with their poetry.
So, Leonie, tell me a little bit about living in Hampstead.
Hampstead in the 60s was an incredible place to live, because we lived on next to nothing, and we just
we just felt we had everything.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, do you play a part in each of your productions?
If I don't play a part, I make a part for myself, because what I do is I go on at the beginning, introduce the show,
Yes.
and get an identity through the play. I always dress according to what the play is. So although I haven't actually got a part in this one, I have made a part for myself.
And no cell phone? You told me that you don't have a computer.
Yeah. Somebody else will do that work for me. So I hire a bureau to do my emails or the computer work. I don't have a car. I don't have a car or a television. Well, I don't have anything.
Do you have a mobile phone?
No, I don't have a mobile.
But you get along perfectly well. Is that because you've lived here so long?
It's a conscious choice, because I like silence. I love silence. I like peace of mind, and I like to walk everywhere without disturbances. And anything that's important, I will get it. And I like face to face, and I like talking to people. So I have a phone, which I do have to have a phone with two landlines with an answering machine. Apart from that, I'm meeting people the whole time, so it's very one-to-one with everyone I meet.
Right, I know, I've experienced that myself. The Village Way, the old-fashioned way, by word of mouth. And where do you find your actors? Do you advertise for them?
No. All my actors, it's word of mouth, people I've worked with before, but everything seems to regenerate itself here. So I never have to go out looking. In fact, I always say Pentameters in some ways is London's best kept secret, because I don't advertise or do very much at all. It just all happens. Because again, it's walking around, spirit of place, people hear about it, they tell other people. And it's probably the most inexpensive night out you can have, because where else can you have a wonderful evening with a club atmosphere, meet the actors, have a drink and see a show for about £10?
You can't even go to a film for that.
No, exactly. For me, life just gets, as a woman and having had children and so forth, life just gets better and better and better. Basically because I think you know yourself more, don't you? You know what you like to eat, you know if you like to drink, you know if you like to party or not party. You just know yourself and do what you want to do. Not selfishly, but you just do what you want to do. And we don't need a lot of money to live, do we? How many changes of clothes do you want? As long as you've got a roof over your head. And my advice to to the youngsters who they all play themselves in and want to work here voluntarily. My advice to them is the one important thing in life, always pay your rent, because everything else will come to you. But if you lose the roof over your head, it's very, very difficult to get back. Does that make sense to you?
That makes wonderful sense, yes. Yeah, everything revolves around that money that pays the rent.
You must have a place to live, otherwise you're out there and and you can always afford your rent. Anybody can just afford the rent.
Right. Okay, thank you so much.
Is theater dead?
So what do you think the future of theater is with the iPod, the iPad, the iPhone?
Well, I think that it makes not the slightest bit of difference, because at the end of the day, I feel people want one-to-one eye contact, and they want to touch, feel, smell, be with other people. So I'm not bothered about anything like that, the credit crunch or whatever, because at the end of the day, people come up here, they like to meet me, meet the cast, have a drink, see a play, and they trust my judgment on the plays.
All we need is right here. The swan provides a segue to the next conversation. Hampstead Heath is a natural park-like area of over 800 acres. Just adjacent to the village. On the hills to the north of London, the village character of Hampstead can, in part, be credited to Hampstead Heath. Walking on the heath is like walking in the English countryside. I met Godfrey Old at Pentameters, and then ran into him again as I was walking toward the heath. Please meet Godfrey Old, musician, actor, crew member, marketing expert, painter, Heath Ranger. Heath Ranger was pretty interesting. Let Godfrey tell you about the swans.
So, Godfrey, tell me what you do on the heath. What is your job?
My title is Heath Ranger.
Oh.
General patrolling and maintenance. Keep an eye on the wildlife.
Okay. And you mentioned lost dogs?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I get reports of lost dogs often.
Okay, what about the swans?
Well, I'm mainly in charge of the Highgate ponds and
Uh-huh.
our swans. We've got 5 cygnets on the number 1 pond, as they call it. So Highgate number 1. So I have to keep an eye on those, and dogs keep jumping in and so on. And the problem with swans, they actually go into danger as opposed to most animals that have more sense.
They do or
so
they
the
don't?
swans attack the dogs.
Oh, really?
Try to hold them underwater and things like that.
Oh my gosh, they're like alligators. So basically you just kind of patrol and look out for anything that's happening.
Pick up rubbish and things.
And do you have lost people? I know I've gotten lost on the heath.
Yeah, they get psychiatric patients escaping across the heath. Heading
Truthfully?
for the ponds
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, so how do you have them off?
And, just get descriptions over the radio.
Uh-huh.
If they're wearing pyjamas or whatever.
So what do you do? Collect them and take them back?
Call the constabulary.
Oh. Oh, here you've got a call right now.
That's not for me.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Well, thank you.
The next time I ran into Godfrey, he was on his way to another job.
I work in theatre and I work for
the Pentameters Theatre here?
I do occasional set flyer design. I did a show about Jimi Hendrix, and here's a flyer t-shirt I did. I've been painting and decorating today, so and it's in the laundry.
And that's another thing you do.
Yeah.
Could you show us a little? You're a musician as well. Give us a little bit of your harmonica.
Okay, there's no music like this out here, is there?
That's so good.
I gotta have some booze. I'm waiting outside the shoe. You don't want live music around here. It's resident power. I'll just stick to beer again.
So how long have you, Godfrey, have you lived in Hampstead?
I sort of drifted in and out, but I think properly for about 25 years.
Oh, wow.
I think.
Would you live anywhere else?
Would I live anywhere else?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. This place does me rather well. No, I don't think I will, because I've got the heath, so I've got the outdoor life.
Right.
And you got just jump on a train to London, which I enjoy.
Right.
I like old bookshops and things. I'm a bit of a collector of things as well, so I like to have the two things you could get a bus down out to Wales or things, so you're well connected, so you can have the best of.
Right, and you play here in Hampstead.
Yes.
Tell us where.
The King William IV.
Ah, yes,
Sunday
we
night.
saw you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Godfrey lives an alternate lifestyle that is made possible by being in a village. A lifestyle that involves word-of-mouth networking and a perfect note to end on. The Village Way, the original social network.
Who refuses to be drawn into an adult world, place of fantasy and the everlasting dream. No one judges or condemns, all is condoned over a drink, and psychiatrists are temporary gods, alongside hash and the acid trip. Mental houses are health farms, bed-sitters Gandhi's dream. We learn Chinese, write poetry, laugh at politics, pretend Hampstead Heath is real country, afternoon drinking clubs, the Las Vegas of intelligentsia. Days drift into days, conversations confabulating. To go to the city is like visiting an alien planet, for all we need is right here in the Roslyn Arms in Hampstead.